Brew Strong is brought to you by Blickman Engineering, home of the Riptide. Visit them online at blickmanengineering.com.
Brew Strong is brought to you by Blickman Engineering, home of the top-tier brewing stand. Visit them online at blickmanengineering.com.
Brewers, it's time for the beer radio you've been looking for. This is the show that dispels myths, tackles the toughest topics, and makes no apologies for geeking out on beer. Hosted by two guys that drink before they think, Jamil Zainasheff and John Palmer. This is Brew Strong.
Hey, howdy, hey, my brewing brothers and sisters. Greetings.
I don't know. You there, John? Uh-oh.
Sorry, I was on mute. Sorry.
Oh, there we go.
Forgot.
Okay,
Greetings.
Let's just start over. No, I'm just kidding.
Our mutant. The mutant was on mute.
Yeah, well, I was having a granola bar, so didn't want
to crunch in the microphone.
Yeah.
Yeah. We don't want the whole crunching incident to happen again.
That's right.
Be the end of us.
So how are y'all doing today? How you doing, Scott? Haven't seen you in a while.
Oh, I'm doing well. We had our Pliny the Younger event at the Grenade yesterday, so I'm glad that the show wasn't until a little later today because it was a rough morning.
I bet. Yeah, need some menudo to help deal with that.
No kidding. It's crazy that beer, and all these years, it just still the hype surrounding that beer is just mind blowing.
Yeah.
Talk about hype. Evil 3. This year we won the Bistro IPA, triple IPA award.
Ooh, nice.
Yes, and deservedly. And there were some cans of it floating around. These Pliny days and anniversary days and stuff turn into big bottle shares, and the fam gets together. Right. And there were a bunch of cans of Evil 3. People were doing side by sides, and it might have been considered better than Pliny. But don't tell Vinny.
Well, and here's the weird thing is, I tell people, I'm like, well, Vinny taught all of us, and I mean all of us brewers, how to make a great double IPA, triple IPA, right? He was really kind of the genesis of that whole West Coast kind of style where it became lighter and drier and had a lower finishing gravity. Before Vinny, triple IPAs were like barley wines and had these really sweet and really heavy beers. And he modernized it. He's the one who changed it, and so and he told all of us how to do it. Right? He taught all of us home brewers and professional brewers how to change their beer to be more like what he was doing. And so I tell people that, and so the response is so you're cloning Pliny the Elder or Pliny the Younger? I'm like, no, not at all. But people, that's what they say. They go, oh yeah, you just copying Vinny. It's like, no, you don't understand. It's like,
right.
Wait a minute. And it's like somebody taught you to drive, and then you go drive in a race or something. Does that mean you're copying them, or I don't know? How is it when somebody teaches you to paint, and then is your art not your art?
That's right. No, it's all different, and the art is the key. I mean, even if you Vinny taught us, as you say, gave us the recipe for Pliny. You don't brew it exactly the same way.
No,
nobody does.
Totally,
I mean,
it's totally different. It's completely different beer.
Yeah. You would use the ingredients you have readily available, and specific hops that you might like a little better than his choice.
Well, you make it different. You don't make the same thing. You make it different.
Yeah.
So it's totally different beer, but the fundamental concepts of how to do something, like speaking of art and painting, Scott is actually a great artist. I don't know.
What do you mean actually? Actually? I love that. He can actually do other things.
He's actually not an idiot. He actually has some talent.
Thank you.
I think you hear that a lot, right?
Yeah, in exactly that tone, pretty much, yeah.
Right.
From your parents, yeah.
I got a piece of his art on my wall right here. It's with the hops in the bathtub.
Yes, wet hops.
Yes, wet hops. It's great. I love it.
It's funny that even if it was true, like, all you did was just copied Vinny, and you also made this category defining wonderful beer. Like, even if that were true, like, yeah, all right, is that an issue?
Sure. Well, it's like somebody must have taught you something about painting.
Oh yeah, sure, yeah. I mean, there were some classes I took. My grandpa was a painter. Absolutely.
Yeah. And so are you copying what they did, or are you creating your own art?
Well,
I think you're creating your own art.
I've done both.
You're taking techniques that they taught you, and using those techniques, you're going forth and creating your own.
Well, and much like making like a clone of Pliny to practice, I have actually just directly copied, I made a painting of one of my grandpa's paintings, and you sort of practice your technique, and then that helps you when you make your own piece of art. It's better, when you set out on your own.
Right. Yeah, it's like learning to cook the classics, classic dishes, and I think you start to put your own spin on it. You start to do different things. I think that's one of the reasons that a lot of home brewers will brew. They want clone recipes. They want to see if they can do it, and then once they do, they're just like, yeah, now I want to make it different because I'd like it better if it was this way or that way. You hear that all the time. I get people all the time. They go, oh, yeah, like your evil twin recipe. Yeah, I make it, but, I make it different. I do, they don't say, but I make it better. They go on and, and so props to Vinny for, creating a whole style category, I think.
Yeah, that's the true spirit of brewing.
Yeah. So, apparently there was 80, 90 entrants at the IPA Fest, and it's all invitational in a way. So that's a bunch of heavy hitters.
Did it take gold, Evil 3? Mm-hmm. Wow, that's awesome! Congratulations.
Yeah. I'm real pleased.
Yeah, it's always been one of my favorite beers too.
I do think it's a great beer. Speaking of changing trends and making new styles, back in the day, Pliny was a game changer. It changed things. That was 10, 15 years ago.
Yeah,
it's quite a while ago. But there's new trends, new trendy beers, new things that people are working on. That the New England IPA some years ago, who saw that coming? That completely changed things. So, what are the beers that are changing things in the future? Right. I bet you one person that might know that we probably should have asked is our friend John Blickman.
There you go. Yeah.
He's got his finger on the pulse of what people are brewing and how they're brewing it, and that's how come he can make such great equipment for brewers, home brewers, professional brewers, any kind of brewer you got. John Blickman and Blickman Engineering has the equipment for you. You can check out all their stuff at blickmanengineering.com. And if you get a chance, I'd appreciate if you could send an email to my dear friend John Blickman at feedback@blickmanengineering.com and tell him how much you appreciate that he pays for the show, so you don't have to. If you enjoy the show, if you hate it, then you can tell him, you send him an email and tell him how much you hate hearing me or John or Scott or whoever.
Yeah. If you take offense at the Cretans thing, yeah.
Boy, are you wasting your money, Blickman.
Boy, are you wasting. I just wanted to tell you how much you're wasting your money. What a hole you're pissing in with this whole Brew Strong thing. Yes, I'm sure he would appreciate that.
Jamil, let me quickly point out that you did not use the word "actually" at any point in reference to, hey, Blickman actually knows what he's talking about. You didn't say that.
It's one of the things I hate most when people are tasting a beer, one of my beers, and they'll be like, "That's actually not bad."
Right? Exactly.
So
yeah.
like, well, what the hell?
I know how to brew a beer.
Right? You think the beer I make is bad? You think I would hand you a beer that was bad? Like, actually, that's pretty good.
Right.
Actually, that's okay. Actually, it's like, shut up. Don't use that actually at me.
Okay. I'll try to stop saying that, Jamil.
I hear that. You hear that all the time. It's like Scott said. It's kind of annoying. It's like you just diss.
There shouldn't be any doubt, right? Right.
It just say, well, it's good or bad or whatever, but don't go like, well, actually.
It would probably be a good life rule to drop the words "actually" and "literally." They're so overused and it's like sort of insulting.
They're literally overused. Yes.
Right. Thank you.
That's actually a good point, Scott.
Yeah, I know how to make good points, man.
You actually do. All right. Let's do this. Let's take a short break, and when we come back, we'll actually get into the topic of the day, which is these new beer styles that are literally changing the face of brewing. We'll be back right after this.
Are you looking for a simple brewing system that's great for all grain brewing, but everything on the market seems to be full of compromises? Blickman Engineering has the answer. The Blickman Brew Easy All Grain Brewing System. The Brew Easy is a complete system with easy upgrades and a beautiful compact design, perfect for any size brewing location. At its core, the Brew Easy is built on two gorgeous Blickman Boilermaker brew kettles, a high-temperature March pump, and either a top-tier gas burner or the new Boil Coil electric heater. The Brew Easy adapter lid allows the pots to stack on top of each other, forming an efficient, strong, and compact brewing setup that comes in 5, 10, and 20-gallon batch sizes. Upgrade your Brew Easy system with full automated control by adding a Blickman Tower of Power temp controller, and make moving around easy with the Blickman Kettle Cart. The Brew Easy is modular. If you already own a Boilermaker kettle, you can build your Brew Easy by purchasing just the modules you need. The new Brew Easy all-grain brewing system. See it today at BlickmanEngineering.com and brew with Blickman quality on your new Brew Easy.
Like the Lance Armstrong of the beer world. Except for that nut thing. This is Brew Strong.
All right, we're back. We're talking about the new trends in beer and brewing. And I get this question asked often. I'm sure you do too, John.
Oh, yeah.
It's, what's the new cool thing that's coming out of breweries? And, I think that, a lot of the creativity and a lot of the new stuff was happening here in the U.S. and people would ask, what are American brewers doing? I think that's how you phrased the question initially, John.
Yeah.
But I see it in other countries as well.
Oh, of course. Yes. I myself, I don't pay attention to, what's new on the market. When I get my issue of New Brewer and so on, they have a very convenient portfolio in the back of all the new beers that have hit the market. But I really don't think about that. I'm more interested in the science end of things. But, new styles do come along, like New England IPA and Brewed IPA a couple of years ago, that, teach brewers something new about the beverage. Just as you were saying, how Vinny and others redefined IPA. Katarina Sour is another one that has taken hold in recent years. A fruited Berliner Weiss type beer. brewed a little stronger there in Brazil. A lot of new beers that brewers come up with will often inspire others and lead to kind of a new style. And so yeah, I was thinking yesterday and today, and what new beers you've heard of, and this might be something interesting to talk about.
Yeah, well, I came up with a kind of a quick list of things that I've seen and heard and tasted and tried, and one of them that comes up fairly often, at least out in the West, I think from Denver on out this way, is not even beer; it's hop tea. Brewers
really?
I think for non-alcoholic, things. So non-alcoholic beer is another big one.
Yeah.
We were talking about doing a show about how you produce a non-alcoholic beer, and with advances in equipment and scaling down of some of the major pieces of equipment that are required to do a proper non-alcoholic beer. Craft non-alcoholic beers are becoming more and more available, and people are seeking them out more. So I think that's one of the trends. I don't know that it's going to last a long time. I think people talk about the alcohol and not wanting the alcohol for various reasons, but then people talk about calories too.
Yeah.
They want, beer without calories as well. And it's like, well, yeah, how long is either of those trends really going to last? There's a subset of people that I guess are focused on those, but the majority of people, they want alcohol and flavor.
Yeah.
So they're not really too concerned about those other aspects. So I'm not sure how well that trend's going to do, but the hop tea one was interesting to me because it's essentially tea, green tea, black tea, and hops. And there's really nothing else in it. It's just tea and hops. And hops give, they tend to focus on a citrusy hop. And it's interesting, especially if you like tea. I like tea. Yeah. You serve it cold and carbonated, and the hops give it it's almost like tea with lemon or orange or something like that, and it's pretty interesting. That's something that I think a number of people are working on and coming out with. There's already some on the market, and again, I think it's quite limited. But it's interesting. Yeah. I don't know that. I mean, you might as well just make, cold tea carbonated with orange or lemon or whatever, and go with that because the hop tea is quite expensive because of the hops.
Oh, yeah, I suppose.
Hops are
I used to add hops to my coffee. I would throw a couple of hop pellets into the brew basket and brew my coffee.
Why was that?
Just because I think maybe to irritate my wife for one thing. But it tastes like a stout. It's
Oh, really?
Yeah. It's like that's what my thought was. Like, hey, I like hoppy stout. Well, I can add some hops to my coffee, and that should taste like it. And sure enough.
And interesting.
Yeah, so it's kind of like hop tea.
And did you get any bittering from it?
Some, but mostly aroma and flavor, and yeah.
And this is into the grounds, and then you were using a drip.
Yeah, it was just standard Mr. Coffee kind of coffee maker, and I just throw some pellets in with the coffee grounds and brew it, and worked quite well.
What kind of hop were you using?
I was using, most likely Cascade, but also I think I had some Perla at the time, which had, that has that little mintiness to it. And that worked well.
Okay. I'm going to have to try this.
Yeah, especially today with cold brew coffee. I mean,
Right.
I think hops in cold brew coffee is another real possibility.
I mean, we do make cold brew coffee. We make like the most insane cold brew coffee ever. We use over 1 pound per gallon of
Wow.
coffee. And so it's a concentrate, right?
Yeah.
And so my plan was to make this concentrate and then, water it down. How much do you want to water it down? Like half is pretty standard.
Yeah.
Oh, I thought, and I tried that. Turned out good. But then, the less and less water, the more people liked it. And then people they like it super strong. I'm like, okay. So it costs a fortune to make. And the employees drink it all up.
Yeah.
But we actually serve it on nitro here. And
that is so good when you do a coffee on nitro.
yeah, and it's concentrate. It's not coffee. It's cold brew concentrate. Like you buy a concentrate in the store and water it down. No, this is straight concentrate on nitro. And it's a locally roasted roaster, and he makes the most amazing coffee. Yeah, over 1 pound a gallon. Well,
sounds wonderful. Yeah.
It's only money.
There you go.
But
but you have very alert employees. That's good.
Yeah, I'm like, well, as long as they're hyped up on caffeine, might as fine by me. Better than drinking a lot of alcohol. Add hops to cold brew. I'm gonna try it. It may be something really. I may waste like $150 for the coffee, but I'll give it a shot.
Well, have you tried making some low alcohol beers at the brewery?
Well, I'll brew, British, like an ordinary bitter or something like that. That'll be, 3-ish.
Yeah, yeah.
But no, we really haven't done much on the low alcohol, no alcohol. There's a new piece of equipment that'll, so the way the Germans do it, they have a giant like RO system.
Oh.
That's $250,000, takes up like half a warehouse, and they just run the beer through it. And what happens is alcohol and water are removed. It's it's just across a membrane.
Yeah.
And then the remaining beer gets carbonated water added back to it, and there's your non-alcoholic beer.
Oh.
So it's done, and it can be done at low temperatures. It can be done, at 32 Fahrenheit. So you're not heating up the beer.
Yeah.
You're not exposing it to oxygen. And it turns out that's how the best non-alcoholic beers are made. The other ways that people have been doing it is they'll heat it up and apply vacuum and take the alcohol off that way. The problem is you're heating up the beer.
Yeah, yeah.
Rarely, it's no good. You can taste it. Taste stale. The heat staling is terrible. So that's generally how it's done. You can brew a lower alcohol beer. One of my favorite ways to do it is brew a high strength beer, like our double IPA.
Okay.
And then, lots of hops in it, and then just add a bunch of water to it, carbonated water. And if you've added enough hops, it's still bitter, and it's hoppy. It becomes more bitter and hoppy the more water you add to it, because it thins out the malt.
Yeah, yeah.
So that, or just drink some goddamn alcohol. What's the matter with you?
That's right. Yeah. I know they've come out with a couple of yeast strains in the last year or two, ones that don't ferment maltose, just a very, very lightly fermented beer to reduce the alcohol content. You brew like a low OG 1035, something like that, and then ferment it with this low fermentability yeast, and you do get some beer character, but less alcohol that way.
Yeah. Sounds lovely. Hard seltzer is another one that's
very, very popular. Yeah.
And the interesting thing is, the big brewers, they're making this super clear with, quote, natural flavors that, it's just a bunch of chemicals that they add in as their natural flavor.
Yeah.
And so a lot of craft brewers, especially in the U.S. and California, are making hard seltzer, a more natural way. They're making just a basic wort and then actually fermenting it with fruit.
Oh,
so
okay.
Actual fruit's added versus a fruit flavoring. They actually use fruit. So we make one, we use fruit in it, and we don't add any sugar, no artificial sweeteners, anything like that. We actually control fermentation to hit a target residual sweetness, and so we don't have to add sugar. We don't have to add, So that's become quite popular. And we make it because, there's the variety of people. People have different tastes.
Right.
I'm fine with that. I've always said, owning a brewery, the brewery just needs to make one beer that I like, that I want to drink. And as long as that's on, I'm good. All the rest of them could be what other people like.
Right, yeah.
I'm running a business and I'm running a tap room. I want people to come in and find something that they enjoy, not every beer is what Jamel wants to drink.
Right.
Because, while there be a variety, it'd still be stuff that I like to drink, and people have different tastes.
Mm-hmm. And I think as a most breweries these days are looking at their products and their clientele and saying, we want people to come in and spend some time here, have more than one beer, and so having some low alcohol and some of these lighter tasting, hard seltzers, less filling, allows people to spend more time, which is nice.
Which is one of the things on my list is taproom experiences. I was asking my wife, what's trendy and what are people trying to do, and she mentioned one of the things is the experiential taproom. The taproom as more of an experience than just a place to go buy something to drink. It's when you're there, how's the environment? What's it like? What does it feel like? How what is the experience that you're consuming at that point, not just the individual. So that's a big thing that's trending right now, especially in the U.S.
Yeah. One thing I always look for when I go to a tap room is our pinball machines.
Oh.
Yeah. I mean,
Leave their balls.
That was true. But, good pinball machines, fun arcade games. I mean, because, it's great to be able to have a beer while you're trying to beat the high score on pinball or, Centipede or whatever the game may be. Maybe it's my generation that really enjoys, video game arcades. But nice to be able to have a beer while you're doing that too.
Right. Well, one of the other things that's trending big right now in the U.S. is ready-to-drink cocktails in cans. And beers that taste like cocktails. So, people try to make beers that taste like, gin and tonic or, Kahlua or whatever it would be, old-fashioned. I did a collab with Libertine, in which we were trying to make I can't remember what kind of cocktail it was, but a beer that tasted like a cocktail. And that got me thinking, and one of the things I was looking at doing was making beers that were high ABV, like 20%, that had the flavor of certain of the cocktail ingredients that you could use in beer cocktails. Because the problem with beer cocktails that was the thing that was popular for a while, or it still sort of is that people would make a cocktail and just pour some beer in it, and it really wasn't,
it didn't.
Foundation of it. It watered down, if anything.
Yeah. It wasn't created to be a blend or a pairing of the two flavors.
Right.
It was just beer added. Yeah.
Right. So if you made these beers that were, like cocktail ingredients, you could make a beer cocktail that truly was a beer cocktail. So that was one of my ideas I was really excited about a while ago. And then, I don't know, we opened a distillery and I forgot all about that. But I still think that would be a cool thing to try.
Yeah. Well, are you able to add or able to combine beer and spirits under your license, or do they have to be sold separately?
Yeah, I don't think there is any such license that allows you to do it.
Okay.
Because even though I don't know. I mean, maybe there's a distillery license that would allow you to take in beer as an alcohol and use it as an ingredient. I don't know. It's
so you can't combine a beer and your distilled product into a heretic package. Yeah.
No.
Oh, okay.
That's federally not allowed. I don't think the state allows it either.
Okay.
Yeah, if the feds say no, you don't even bother checking with the state because it's.
Yeah.
So
I guess it'd be like what do you call it, a sidecar in a bottle kind of thing. But yeah, you can't do it.
Right. Yeah, sidecar. I think that's what we're trying to do. Anyways, let's take a short break. When we come back, I've got more on my list that may thrill or disgust you, depending on what you think. All right, we'll be back right after this.
Back to your hosts, Jamil Zainasheff and John Palmer. Putting the testicles in technical. This is Brew Strong.
All right, we're back. We're talking new beer styles and beer trends in brewing here in the USA, and I guess wherever else we've seen it. Let's see. I wanted to say this episode is brought to you by the American Homebrewers Association, makers of the free Brew Guru mobile app. If you love brewing and saving money on beer when you go out, you need the Brew Guru in your corner. The app offers a searchable database of homebrew recipes, including popular craft beer clones and hundreds of winning recipes from the National Homebrew Competition. What's more, Brew Guru has a searchable map of deals at breweries, beer bars, and homebrew shops. Grab the free Brew Guru app for iPhone and Android devices and follow the path to good beer. It is free. It is useful.
It is.
Get it? It will pay for your AHA membership. You'll at worst break even. You'll save some bucks. So check it out. And I think you can check it out even before you become a member. It limits what you can get out of it, but I'm telling you, it's a handy little app to have. Let's see here. All right, so we're talking these new trends, and here's one that we were talking about beers that taste like cocktails. Well, here's one that's become real popular, and my good friend Travis, I think he believes this is a horrible abomination of beer, or not even really beer, or not even really drinkable. And he may have a point here. What we're seeing is I think they're calling them like smoothie beers, or daiquiri beers, or daiquiri smoothie beers.
Okay, I haven't heard of that.
And what they are, and there's pictures of them too. They're taking general like beers or kettle sour beers, and then they add like fruit puree to them, like 50% fruit puree and 50% beer. And then they serve them that way, or they actually put them in cans. And I guess there was a problem with some breweries with the cans exploding because they're not, fermenting the fruit. They're just putting it in this puree. And so I thought I did some pretty heavily fruited sours, but I'll tell you, he just sent me a link. He sends me pictures of all these, and you open them, and it just gushes out all this fruit puree as it's overcarbonated. Another one was somebody commented that they're pouring it, and it's like pouring tomato juice, or even thicker than tomato juice. So that's one trend, because fruit beers, and I'm telling my guys all this all the time. It's like fruit beers today, all beers today. Here's one of the major trends in beers is flavoring beers being sweeter, or beers being sour and sweet, and bold flavors. So those days of subtle little, I get a tiny hint of, strawberry in the background, or, there's if I dig really deep, I get a tinge of cardamom in the mid palate. I get, all these subtle little things. They don't fly much anymore. Today's drinker, is looking for more bold flavors. Yeah. Very upfront fruit character. Not a subtle thing anymore. It needs to pop, and it's been a big shift. That wasn't a thing. As recent as 5 years ago, people weren't looking for that. So that's something that I think is new. If you're gonna do a fruit beer, it damn well better taste like the fruit. If they have to hunt for that flavor at all, it's a failure. So those bold fruit flavors. Well, now they're taking it to the extreme, like it just happens all the time over here. Yeah. They're it's half fruit and a little bit of beer.
Well, that's really interesting, because you reminded me that places such as LA Ale Works, they have, what do you call them? Beer slushy machines. So you go to...
Right.
Yeah. You'd make a daiquiri out of the beer by partially freezing it, and have a beer slushy. That seems to work well with some of the hazy IPAs, where you have kind of a very fruity hop character. And I suppose if you added few fruit puree to that, in a slushy machine, that would work well, because you don't have to package it. You don't have to worry about the exploding can.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's it's different. It's and really becoming very, very popular, I think. So that's something to consider as well. These extreme fruited beers, and I think it goes along with lactose beers. So there's a big use of lactose. I joke here. I'm like, we should put in a lactose silo, because some of these beers, they use a considerable amount of lactose in them. And back in the day, I wouldn't have used nearly as much lactose as I'm willing to use today. Lactose gives a very full feel to a beer. You'd think it would turn it kind of milky, but it would start to taste like dairy.
Yeah.
But it really doesn't. At least in the things I've done, or maybe it's the source of lactose we're using. You can put a lot of lactose in there, and it doesn't taste milky. It tastes, just slightly sweet.
Yeah,
adds a
residual sweetness.
Fullness. Yeah. But it's not, lactose isn't that sweet a sugar.
Mm-hmm.
So
yeah, I had a milkshake stout this past weekend at the Sonora Beer Fest in Hermosillo, Mexico. That was a chocolatey stout that they had added strawberry flavoring to, and it was very, very with lactose, and really did put you in mind of like a strawberry chocolate milkshake kind of thing. I was surprised how much I liked it.
Right. Yeah, a lot of this stuff kind of sounds disgusting.
Yeah. But when it's done well, yeah.
Right. It's just the question a lot of people have is, well, it's not beer anymore. It's like, well, yeah, I mean, depends on what your definition of beer is. Is your definition of beer, clear with hops and malt and, that's it? Well, then this is not beer anymore. But I think, beer before hops and beer before a lot of things, it's changed a lot over time, and apparently it's making more changes. And that's kind of one of the magic things I think about beer is it has the ability to morph and change and for flavors to there's so many flavors available to the brewer that aren't available to the winemaker. It's just tremendous. I mean, we can make something that tastes like a strawberry chocolate milkshake, or we can make something that tastes like a piney, dry, IPA.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
And to me, they're all beers.
Yeah, I think as long as you're going through the brewing process, doing the mash, making the wort, cooking the wort, fermenting the wort, adding, some post-fermentation ingredients, whether it's additional hops or some fruit flavoring, I think that's all still beer because you're actually brewing it.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. As long as the legal meets the legal definition, I'm cool with it. I think experimentation is experimentation. If it's terrible, nobody will drink it. So don't worry about it; it'll go away. I think the brewed IPA thing kind of came and went.
Mm-hmm.
Those things that like nobody's doing anymore. I don't know.
I liked those beers when I had them. It was an extension to me of the West Coast IPA where it's a little bit drier, and then they dry it out even more. So I often had some that were quite very, very drinkable, very sessionable.
Yeah.
But yeah.
I don't know if it really caught on much with the crowds. Like another one that seems to be popular that may have some legs is rosé beers. So, people like rosé beers. That tends to be anything that's kind of pinkish in color. You can call it rosé beer. We do one with hibiscus. People do it with other things, I guess. And that tends to be a popular one as well. That's kind of new. Well, and the hazy IPA, that's not going away. That's been around for a while. And I think it's really because people have dialed in how it's made, and people started making much better versions of it. Not that the original ones weren't, but I think, a lot of people jumped on the bandwagon, and there was a lot of crappy ones. They were just a glass of yeast.
Yeah.
They were nasty. And now people have, some of them are just amazing. People are making some amazing ones, all over the world.
Oh, yeah.
I got one. I think I got one from Sweden or Norway or something in a can in Reno. I was just picking up random cans out of out of this cold fridge at this place. I was like, well, it looks like an interesting can here. Sure, I'll grab this. I've never seen these before. I'll grab them. It wasn't until I got home and poured it. I was just like, damn, that's good. Like really, really good. I was really
refreshing.
Impressed. Yeah. It was just fantastic. Had great malt character, everything else. Like that was fantastic. And then I looked at the can. I was like, oh, it came from like Sweden. I'm like, what the heck? Dudes in Sweden doing some good stuff. And I threw away the can or something. I don't know who it was now. I didn't make any notes. Now I need to go back to Reno, see if I can find another one, so I know next when I'm in Sweden who to say hi to. So the hazy IPA and the dessert stouts, like you're talking about, that's been around for a couple of years, and I don't think that's going away either. That's becoming quite popular, and I think eventually everybody's probably, or most everybody's probably going to brew one. Did I tell you the story of brewing at Burning Soul in Birmingham, England?
No, you didn't.
The marshmallows.
Oh, okay.
So
marshmallow story.
So yeah, the marshmallow story. So I was talking to them about doing a collab, and great guys there, and they make great beer. It's truly excellent beer, and so we're talking about doing like some big stout that they could maybe barrel age. And I'm like, oh yeah, that's cool. And I'm like, what's popular today is these pastry stouts. And I couldn't quite convince them to go like full on pastry and, throw a whole bunch of stuff in there. But they're like, well, how about like marshmallow? And I'm like, okay, well, we can do marshmallow. And so we're going to brew this big stout. And I'm, through email, I'm like, well, marshmallow is really just a bunch of gelatin and, sugar, dextrose, gelatin, dextrose, and vanilla flavoring. That's really all a marshmallow is. A lot of air and then like a talcum powder to keep them from sticking together in the bag. And I said, so you could get a few bags of marshmallows. We can all take pictures, toss it in marshmallows, but then you can just dose it with some vanilla and get about the same thing. It's a marshmallow. So I get there, and they've got a 650 liter kettle, so not that big.
Yeah. And
the smallest amount he could buy wholesale of marshmallows was 50 kilos. So
110 pounds. 120.
It's in 650 liters, and so. It's a pallet, marshmallows, they don't weigh much. They take a lot of them. So it's like a freaking pallet of marshmallows is like 110 pounds, 50 kilos. And so we start adding some. The kettle's already pretty full. We're making this high ABV Imperial Stout. And so we start adding marshmallows. We became very good at figuring out how to add marshmallows, because what happens is the marshmallows melt when they hit the boiling wort, and they release all the gas that's inside them, which causes like a foaming, right?
Yeah.
And you also added gelatin and everything else. And so we kind of got good at doing it because it's a lot of bags. And it's like an hour of adding marshmallows to this thing. When we got all 50 kilos in there, they got some boilovers and it made a hell of a mess, but we got it all in there. And I can tell you that is pretty much all that you can do. That is like the maximum marshmallow addition you can do to a beer. Because at the end, they were kind of like hitting the surface and skittering around a little bit before finally kind of melding into the mass. And it wasn't until about 3/4 hour of adding marshmallows that I thought came to me. We use gelatin to take yeast out of suspension.
Oh.
How was this going to affect pitching the yeast? And is the gelatin just going to pull all the yeast out of suspension? I'm like, whoops. I didn't think about this. But then I'm like, well, it'll probably be okay because the gelatin's going to get all jacked up by being boiled.
Yeah, that's true.
And so...
Massive hot break.
Yeah, it'll probably be fine. I don't know. I'm like, hey, I'll be gone. It's their problem. But apparently it fermented out fine. But what he found was there were weird white flakes at the bottom of the fermenter afterwards. Oh. And I got to assume that was talc. Because those marshmallows must be covered in some sort of talcum of some kind.
Well, I wouldn't think it'd be talc. I would think it'd be cornstarch.
Yeah, I mean, not talc, but, cornstarch or something. Some talcum-like kind of powder to keep them from sticking together. It could have been a silicone or, silicon dioxide or something like that. Yeah. Anyways, that kind of coagulates and flocculates and breaks out and falls to the bottom.
Okay.
Other than that, there you go. We had a lot of fun. And then they took me out drinking and eating, and it was spectacular. I had such a great time with those guys. I love them. They're the best. Very nice. So Burning Soul, if you're ever in Birmingham, check out Burning Soul. Just great beers and great guys. A lot of fun. All right. Well, let's wrap this up. And I think that's all I got, man. Fruit sours, those, still can be popular. But I think that's where all the trends are going. And we're going to start our own new trend with hopped coffee.
There you go. Yeah. That was interesting. There's always a lot going on in the beer world, and maybe we haven't heard about other new things going on in other parts of the country, but
or the world.
There's a few right there.
Yeah, I would say if you know of the weird trendy beer, or you're trying to start some weird trendy beer, email us brewstrong@thebrewingnetwork.com. And tell us about your trendy new beer idea, and maybe we'll talk about it on the show. Maybe we'll recipe and everything. We'll make it a thing, or if it's already sort of a thing. I'd love to talk to some of the brewers that are doing these daiquiri smoothie fruit beers. I'm going to be in Houston and New Orleans before the Homebrewers Conference, and maybe I get a chance to talk to some of the people down there.
Yeah. Because we're always trying to learn. We are.
Yeah.
So
maybe
I'd be interested.
Love it. Maybe I'll be totally into it. Yeah. So I won't say I hate them yet. I won't say I love them yet. I gotta taste a few. But I imagine. I mean, I love fruit, so there you go. What can I say? I'm a fruity guy.
There you go. We're looking forward to it.
Yep. Well, and speaking of fruity guys, please make sure you check out our fine sponsor, John Blickman. He's one wild and fruity guy.
That's right. And he innovates fruits you don't have to, or something like that.
Yes.
Okay, that didn't work.
Innovating your fruit. All right, another fine show. Thanks for listening in. Thanks for supporting our sponsors. Thanks for being who you are. And make sure you keep on brewing strong.
Brew strong, everyone.
All right.